The following video covers important information from CBRM Emergency Management for hurricane preparedness. Links to emergency management resources, including how to make an emergency plan, emergency kits, generator safety, and other topics are included in the description for this video. A hurricane is a type of storm called a tropical cyclone, which forms over tropical or subtropical waters. Hurricanes gain their energy from warm sea surface temperatures. Hurricanes start in the tropical regions but eventually steer north. As long as the base of the weather system remains over warm water and its top is not sheared apart by high altitude winds, it will strengthen and grow. A general rule with tropical cyclones is that the wind on the right side of the storm is stronger than the left side of the storm. Hurricanes are then guided northward around the west side of the Bermuda High. Once they move over cold water or over land and lose touch with the hot water that powers them, these storms weaken and break apart. The Atlantic hurricane season runs from June 1st through November 30th. Peak hurricane season, where the likelihood of hurricane development is the highest, typically begins in early August when ocean temperatures are warm and wind shear is low. The season will peak in mid-September, then decrease as ocean temperatures cool and wind shear begins to increase. The season ends as we enter the colder months and ocean temperatures cool even more. We encourage you to use trusted sources of expert information for weather updates. For the most accurate severe weather information, rely on trusted sources, including Environment Canada and the Canadian Hurricane Centre. You can also download the WeatherCan app onto your phone to receive weather alerts directly. There has been a large increase in the number of amateur weather watchers sharing severe weather information through social media sites, and often this information is shared well before accurate predictions are possible, and early speculation can create a lot of concern when it's still too soon to confidently predict any potential impacts on the Atlantic region. Use the information shared by amateur pages as a reminder that we all should be prepared for emergencies. All residents are encouraged to practice personal emergency preparedness and to be prepared to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours. Know the risks, make a plan, and build an emergency kit to help support yourself, your family, and your pets following an emergency. The following is an example of a hurricane track forecast by the Canadian Hurricane Centre. Predictions by the Canadian Hurricane Centre are shown in blue, while U.S. predictions are shown in red. And although forecasters look at computer simulations beyond 5 days, they should not be considered forecasts due to large potential errors. Although long-range simulations may suggest a storm will impact a certain area well beyond 5 days, the actual outcome may be vastly different than those simulations. Hurricane Franklin provides a good example of the considerable uncertainties in model track predictions, especially in the long range. There is too much uncertainty beyond 5 to 7 days to know where storms like this will track. The following are examples of the various weather alerts that are issued by Environment Canada prior to the arrival of a hurricane. Special weather statements are typically used to describe weather hazards that cannot be described by another watch, warning, or advisory. It's issued to warn the public of potentially hazardous weather event in the long-term forecast. Weather watches are issued when there is the potential for severe weather. The ingredients for the severe weather are in place. And weather warnings are issued when that severe weather is occurring or is imminent. Almost all Canadian-style tropical cyclones are extratropical in some stage of transition. The main area of rain, which is in green, is located to the left of the storm track, whereas the worst wind, waves, and storm surge are on the right. The highest surge, which is in yellow, is at the coast and immediately to the right of the storm track. The highest winds in red are generally much stronger to the right of the track, and the highest waves in blue are also to the right of the track. Wind is another common hazard associated with hurricanes. Winds can damage structures, cause loose items in your yard to become dangerous projectiles, break tree limbs or topple trees, and damage power lines. The potential for damage to trees depends on several factors, including the tree type and rooting structure, soil conditions, whether your soil is wet or dry, and for trees with leaves, whether or not they're in full leaf. The risks to power lines are closely connected to the vulnerability of the trees in the area. Breaking limbs and falling trees are the prime source of downed power lines during tropical and post-tropical wind events. Rain is another hazard associated with hurricanes. Buildup on roadways, washouts, and overland flooding is possible. Near zero visibility and sudden buildup of water on roadways can make driving very dangerous. Low-lying areas near water are the most frequent areas at risk of flooding. Coastal regions and other low-lying areas are at risk of flooding as well, and the combined effect of heavy rainfall and the storm surge may slow water draining away from coastal communities into the ocean. Storm surge and large coastal waves are a hazard as well. They can be hazardous to people, they can cause beach and dune erosion, damage the bridges and coastal infrastructure, and cause flooding of coastal areas. Storm surge is an onshore buildup of ocean water or lake water that is caused by a combination of high winds and low pressure. Storm surge is often the greatest threat to lives and property in coastal areas during a hurricane or storm. Extreme storm waves can cause significant damage to shorelines, washing away large areas or weakening and undermining high oceanside banks and create hidden hazards. Infrastructure along the shoreline, including breakwaters and wharves, can be damaged or destroyed, potentially affecting the safety of our coastal communities and our economy. Remember to practice personal preparedness. All residents are encouraged to practice personal emergency preparedness and to be prepared to be self-sufficient for at least 72 hours. Remember, designated comfort centers do not open for operation when it's unsafe for residents and volunteers to travel. Comfort centers are not opened before a storm when there's no outages and no areas in need of support at that time, or the areas are unknown. Know the risks, make a plan, and build an emergency kit to help support yourself, your family, and your pets following an emergency. The following are a few tips of what you could do before a hurricane. Update your emergency contacts and check your insurance. Do you have enough insurance or the right kind of insurance? Monitor news and weather forecasts for updates. Prepare your property. Trim dead branches and cut down trees and secure anything on your property that could be blown around or torn loose. If you live on the coast or in a low-lying area near the coast, be ready to move inland or to higher ground. Have your emergency kit ready. Make sure you have enough supplies, including water for all members of your family, including pets. For more information on assembling an emergency kit, you can go to the CBRM EMO page on CBRM's website or go to www.getprepared.gc.ca. Remember to check your insurance well in advance of any storm event and make sure that you have adequate coverage and the correct insurance. If you don't have adequate coverage, it may be too late for a forecasted weather event, as many companies will temporarily put a moratorium on new policies until the threat has passed. Videotape or photograph your belongings as a record of your possessions in case you suffer a catastrophic loss. Save receipts, manuals, warranties, or other proof of purchase, and if possible, keep them in another safe location in case your property is lost. Documents can be scanned or photographed and stored on the cloud as another option. Build or purchase an emergency kit with enough supplies for everyone in your household. You may have some of these items already, such as food, water, and a battery-operated or crank flashlight. You can purchase a few items each week until you have a completed kit. The key is to make sure that you have these items, that they're well organized and easy to find. The Nova Scotia Emergency Management Office or Get Prepared Canada have great lists of supplies that should be included in your emergency kit. And take some time to update your emergency contact list. Important numbers that you could include are the emergency numbers for police, fire, and ambulance, the non-emergency number for other general inquiries for police or fire, number for poison control, for burn restrictions in Nova Scotia, the Nova Scotia Power Outage Line, 211 for Nova Scotia Community Services, 311 for CBRM Citizen Service and Inquiries, 511 for Nova Scotia Road Advisories, and 811 for non-urgent health advice. It's often good to include a number for your neighbor on your left, your neighbor on your right, and a neighbor across the road. And remember to include contact numbers for your insurance provider. During a hurricane, stay inside and stay away from windows and doors. Be prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. And stay informed by listening to the latest weather warnings and advisories. If you lose power, turn off appliances and leave one light on. That way you'll know when your power has returned. And use battery-operated powered lights, glow sticks, and avoid using candles. After a hurricane has passed, it may not be immediately safe to travel. Stay inside. Listen to local officials for updates and instructions. Watch out for debris and downed power lines. Avoid floodwaters, which may be contaminated and could be hazardous. Throw out food that may be spoiled due to a power outage. And check on friends, neighbors, and vulnerable people. When using technology during or after a disaster, use non-voice channels like text messaging and email or social media. If you must use a phone, keep your conversation brief. If you're unable to complete a call, wait 10 seconds before redialing. And keep a charger for your mobile device in your emergency kit. Keep your contacts up to date. And conserve your phone's battery by reducing the screen's brightness, placing your phone in airplane mode, and closing apps that you're not using. Remember to stay informed. Power restoration is completed by established priorities by Nova Scotia Power. And follow the NSP live outage map for estimated time of restoration for your area. If you have a generator, practice generator safety. Have a qualified electrician install a properly rated transfer switch. Generator exhaust is toxic and it's deadly. Never use a generator indoors or in an attached garage, even if the doors are open. If there's a risk of flooding, plan ahead. Know what to do during a flood and after a flood. EMO Nova Scotia has a great safety tip sheet available on flooding, and a link to that tip will be available in the description for this video. Remember, it's never safe to walk or drive through floodwaters. Floodwaters can hide hazards, including washouts and open storm drains. Floodwater can be contaminated with chemicals or sewage, and don't underestimate the power of water. Rushing water can carry away a person or a vehicle. Follow Nova Scotia guidance on food safety after emergency. Documents are available to provide information on saving foods when the power is off, and for providing information on food safety after a flood. Links will be available to these documents in the description of the video. Depending upon the type of emergency, the municipality may open designated conference centers. Conference centers provide a location where community members can gather during the day for basic supports. Conference centers are not opened overnight. Depending upon the time of year and the type of emergency, a conference center may serve several purposes. They may provide hot beverages, water, light snacks, prepackaged snacks are preferred, provide warmth or cooling, a charging station, or provide information. For the safety of the public and our volunteers, conference centers typically are not announced and do not open in advance of an event or immediately following impact when conditions may be unsafe to travel. If you experience property damage, talk to your insurance representative as soon as possible. Most insurers have a 24-hour claim service number, and this number should be included in your emergency contacts. Damage caused by windstorm and rain are usually covered by your policy. Be as detailed as possible when collecting and providing information on anything that's been damaged or destroyed. If possible, assemble proofs of purchase, including photos, receipts, or warranties. Take photos of anything that's been damaged before it's discarded. If possible, keep damaged items unless they pose a health hazard. Keep all receipts related to cleanup and living expenses if you've been displaced. Ask your insurance representative about what expenses you may be entitled to and over what period of time. If safe to do so, the property owner is required to take steps to prevent further damage to their property. For uninsurable losses, your home needs to be registered in your name in order to be eligible for other programs, including the Disaster Financial Assistance if a DFA program is available, or for support from various non-government agencies. Disaster Financial Assistance is a program that helps those whose losses aren't covered by insurance. Disaster Financial Assistance can cover damage up to $200,000, but does not replace private insurance. Applications are assessed for eligibility and losses are verified by an adjuster. Processing can take several months. And stay informed. If you haven't already done so, follow CBRM social media on Facebook and on Twitter for updates from CBRM Emergency Management. Thank you.